Over the past few days, I've been working mainly outside. And as you can see, I've been seeing some little creatures that I wouldn't normally get to see. It's so much fun watching them. So the great cutback continues. Massive amount of work to do. And even though it's been raining and very grey, it's been good fun working outdoors. And then occasionally popping in like this to see the light, different kind of light, and fortifying myself with really good food. Spicy Mexican rice and a good green salad. All that iron and vitamin C gives me a lot of energy with which to carry on. So you can see, going out the back here, some of the work I've been doing. I've been cutting back the cotoneaster, so that's quite thinned out now and ready for the spring. The steps have all been cleaned. I've been cutting back the hazel by the corner of the shed there, you can see. So a lot more light's getting in, and this is the important thing, you know. Because although I have a forest garden, it's a woodland garden, up around the back of the cottage and the front of the cottage, I try to keep clear. So I've got all the pots together here in one place, ready for planting. And I've also been mulching around the apple trees. So there's still quite a few trees to mulch around, but slowly getting there. And all the apple trees up in this area have been pruned back. And I'm working now on the vegetable garden. So I've got a lot of soil to distribute. There's compost there, which is all ready to rake in. And I'm working today on cutting back the hedge around the vegetable garden. This 3 acres has evolved over the past 18 and a half years. This is year 19 of the Bealtaine project. And a gentle reminder that there are over 1,100 videos. And if you go on to the YouTube site, Old Cottage, and you press the button that says videos, and you can either choose to watch recent ones or from the very beginning. You can go back to the very beginning. I've moved the bench here onto the veranda. I'm going to clean that down and paint it, give it another lease of life. And now I'm going to take you over to the vegetable garden, because this is where I've been pruning and working, and I'm hoping to get it into tip-top shape for the beginning of the growing season. Because if ever there was a time when you should be growing food, this is it. Food's become more and more expensive, and also to get good organic food has become quite difficult. So one of the tasks that I set myself, if you've seen that little note I made to myself, a list of jobs to do, was to prune back all the hedge. Now the hedge around the vegetable garden consists of blackcurrant, jostaberry, dogwoods, green beech, and probably a few other little plants in there. I should, of course, have pruned all this last year after flowering, but you know, I have this rolling list of work to do, and it can get a little bit daunting. Very rarely do I get help, because of course I have I have a sort of attitude that I just like to get things done myself. Now my son and my eldest daughter have helped me on occasion, But that's not a regular thing, that's just now and again. I do like to be out in nature. This is just so healing. And to be away from, all the social media stuff. Not the social media that I engage in, but all the stuff that comes up on my phone or on my laptop anyway. It can be a little bit oppressive, and especially with the news, you're just being bombarded all the time with news. And no news is good news, as they say. It's always incredibly negative. So, I'd like to say just a few things for those of you who are fairly new to the channel. But before that, I'd like to say a huge thank you to those of you who have sent me cards over the Yule tide, and those of you who've sent me presents. And I'm going to show you in the next video something that I bought with the monetary gifts that I received. So again, it's for the garden, for the outside, because that's where I like to be. A little bit about this project. In 2004, I moved back to Ireland and I bought what I could afford, which was a very dishevelled and sort of languishing cottage on 3 acres. 3 acres of very poor land, very rushy, overgrazed, very compressed. Nothing looked too positive really in terms of what I had planned for it. But, and this is what I think is really important to grasp, I had a vision of how it was going to look. I wanted a cottage in the woods. I wanted to be one with the land. I wanted to nurture the land, and I wanted the land to nurture me. And that was my vision, and I kept that in my head day and night. And I think when you have a vision and you have a very strong desire to create that vision, then you're halfway there. You will do it. The mind is incredibly powerful. I think that's why, regarding the human race, it's always been about as much mind control as possible. If you control people's minds, and mostly with fear, then you control them. So, I have a website, and I've transitioned over the years into a writer. I always wrote anyway, but I never published anything. And when I came to writing my first book, A Cottage in 3 Acres, I never even thought about taking it to a publisher. In fact, someone who I got to know through Built in a Cottage offered to submit it to a publisher friend of his. But I just thought, no, I'm not even going to be of that kind. I'm not going to sit and wait for someone to say, yes, that's acceptable, we'll take that. The story I had to tell was the story of my journey with the land. Simple as that. And I saved up the money and published it myself. So I'm now a publisher as well as a writer. Not long after that, I was acknowledged by my government, the Irish government, Dublin Castle in particular, as a bona fide writer. And so I'm allowed to earn a certain amount before I have to pay tax, because the Irish government cares a lot about their artists and writers. It's always been like that. I think the Celts have always favoured the artist, the writer, the creator. And so my journey has continued as a writer because I love to explore all the various places where my mind takes me as I work on the land. I feel very in touch with the land. Sometimes I feel as though there are voices in the land that are being channeled through me. And I don't say that with any degree of importance. That's just how it is. That's what I experience. I think about 4 years ago, I was repeatedly asked by subscribers to create a calendar. And so I now create a calendar each year. Last year I didn't because I was very upset and very, very much in mourning over the loss of my darling Jack. I think I've come out of that now. I'm now searching regularly the dog shelters. I have a desire to have a little dog, a little female dog. And I know that she's out there somewhere waiting for me. So as I'm working and cutting back, I often think about where this little woodland is in relation to the rest of the world. Because I've had so many of you, I mean, say hundreds, but it's more likely thousands, contact me or leave comments or even write to me or even visit me and tell me how much you've been inspired to plant trees. So one of the things I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months is getting together a whole list. I'm going to compile a list of people who have planted trees, who've been inspired by the Bealtaine project to plant trees, whether it's one tree in a garden or a community garden, or whether it's jumping into the unknown and buying up some land and planting dozens or even hundreds of trees. Because I believe out there is an incredible Bealtaine forest. And you know what Bealtaine means? It's not just the name for the month of May in Irish. It's not just this incredible celebration that goes back way into the mists of time. It's a fire festival. It's about rebirth. It's about growth. It's about hope. It's about the future suddenly just rearing up in front of your face and looking good. So it's optimism. You may have noticed that I never ask anyone to subscribe or press the like button or any such thing. And I don't have advertisements on my channel. This is because I think the kind of people that I would like to subscribe here, to follow, to look in on these videos, to look in at Old Cottage, are the kind who don't actually need to be treated like children and told to do things or reminded to do things. That we're friends, we have a similar outlook we have a connection where we understand each other. That's one of the reasons why I put up a lot of videos. I don't see it as a task. I see it as a joy in that I'm sharing with my friends what it is that I'm doing, and also sort of encouraging people to make those connections with Mother Earth. Or maybe if you've lost those connections because of a terribly busy life, to reconnect. Because the connection with Mother Earth and the sky and the cosmos, this is what life is really about. This is why I love to work outdoors. And quite often people remark, "Oh, Colette, you're wearing very good clothes when you're working outdoors." Well, that's because I don't sit and think to myself, "Oh, I must go and work outdoors." I just do everything in a very natural, sort of organic way. I don't follow recipes. I don't make plans other than to have a dream in my head or write a few notes like a little list. Lists are brilliant, by the way. They're very motivating. But I'm a bit of a, I suppose I would have been called years ago a bit of a wild child, in that I'm unpredictable even to myself. I might decide to go into town, and then I'll go out into the garden to do something, and 3 hours later I haven't gone into town, but I've got a massive amount of work done, and I'm feeling really happy within myself. I believe that our happiness is connected into our relationships, and the most important relationship is that which we have with the great mothership, Earth. And everything we do is part of helping to run that mothership, helping to make sure everything works. It's an incredible life. It's an incredible journey. And it's a very sacred journey. Very sacred. So happy to see this hedge finally put into some kind of shape. Of course, you'll see the beauty of it as it begins to grow. It'll all start sprouting very soon. There's still a lot of work to do, but that's good news to me. I often think to myself, what would my life be like if I had no work to do? I'd be pretty bored. Yep, these are all my gloves. I sort of rotate them because I don't like wearing wet gloves. Blessings to you all, my friends. Blessings to you all. So this is the calendar, which is still available on the website. And the months of the year and the days of the week are in Irish. And all the Celtic festivals are marked out in it. And it's filled with photographs and some writing, some interesting little bits and pieces of writing. Okay. And this is the back of it. Even some writing and photographs on the back. Then I also have, let me just get these books lined up. My first book, A Cottage and 3 Acres. Now this comes with, I think there's about 70 photographs in there. I know the calendar has between 50 and 60 or perhaps 70 photographs as well. but this details my journey from 2004, when I stumbled upon this little place, up until 2013. My second book, In Search of the Goddess Rising, this is very much inspired by living in the west of Ireland, because Ireland has a very female identity. We call it Mother Ireland. And this is all about the goddess and the culture here, and the way in which the landscape and our thoughts on life and our thoughts on family are all influenced by the goddess culture. Ireland was even named after one of the beautiful goddesses. This third book explores my journey over the past 18 and a half, getting on for 19 years. Walking Between Worlds is an exploration of this world and the other world. And again, lots of images in it. Delving, weaving, going right across, the warp and the weft, looking at the she, the fairy world, the other world, the influence of the Celts, the influence of all that is seen and unseen, especially the unseen. There's a great depth of spiritual exploration in this, and bringing us right up to, the modern day and UFOs. Did you know that there was a recording, I say a recording because it was translated from the ancient Irish, of what could only be a UFO back in the 11th century here in Ireland? Much to talk about and to think about there. And this little booklet, the Be Out in the Cottage Guide to the Deep Midwinter, it has got recipes, it's got photographs, it's got some little stories, it's got all things pertaining to the beautiful, enchanting, deep midwinter. All available on the website, and the links are to be found under every video. A little view of Bealton Cottage when I first bought the cottage, and this was the land looking up from the road and the land looking down from the cottage. Blessings to you all.